Ancient Egypt is popular for their strange rituals, hidden tombs, and mighty pharaohs. And topping the list of its most scandalous female pharaoh is Queen Cleopatra the VIII. For over 2,000 years, Cleopatra has been consistently presented as a manipulative seductress who rose to power through her seductiveness and romantic relationships. Another popular story is how she bravely allowed herself to be bitten by a snake after losing the war to the Romans. In all of these, not much is said about her rule as the last female pharaoh of ancient Egypt, or how, at just 18, she was able to bring political and economic stability to her kingdom. In this video, we will focus on reclaiming Cleopatra's image by highlighting how her story was twisted to serve a narrative that portrayed her as dangerous, immoral, and undeserving of her position. Most importantly, we'll explore the full extent of her leadership and accomplishments beyond the bias of romance and scandal, starting with 5. How the Romans vilified and negatively portrayed her image. 4. The sexist double standards she faced for being ambitious and intelligent. 3. The extent of her political wisdom and strategic alliances. 2. How her legacy was reduced to sexualization and objectification of her body. 1. And finally, her suicide, not as a tragic end, but as an act of resistance. From ancient history books to modern films, Cleopatra has been stereotyped as a dangerous and manipulative temptress who used her beauty to manipulate powerful men. But thanks to recent archaeological discoveries and historical analysis, this 2,000-year-old narrative is now being challenged by historians. Many historians have come with proof showing how the bias against the queen was propaganda, spearheaded by the Romans who felt threatened by a powerful queen in an era where female authority was an anomaly for them. You see, Egypt was the last conquered kingdom by the Roman Empire, and the Romans did not like the presence of a female ruler. So, in order to justify their conquest of Egypt, they painted a narrative that discredited her political capacity and framed her as nothing but a manipulative seductress who happened to gain power by seducing not one, but 2 powerful Roman generals. Julius Caesar, whom she had one son named Caesarion, and Caesar's right-hand man Mark Antony, whom she had 3 more children with. Even after her death, the criticism never stopped. Roman historians went on to criticize her legacy, morally and politically, portraying her as nothing more than an evil temptress. This narrative became even more popular with William Shakespeare's play, where he cast her as an emotional woman, driven more by love and vanity and only known for her romantic entanglements. This seductive queen trope has been further cemented in recent times by Hollywood in films like Elizabeth Taylor's epic film titled Cleopatra, and even Netflix's latest Queen Cleopatra. And this brings us to the double standards and how female rulers and women in positions of power are held to much higher standards than their male counterparts. When male rulers forge alliances or dominate new territory, they're praised and celebrated as conquerors, but when women do the same, they are painted as emotional, manipulative, dangerous, or immoral. Cleopatra, like many women in positions of power, is one of the earliest examples of sexism in centuries past. Not much has changed in recent times either. Today, women in positions of authority are often met with hostile criticisms and judgments for daring to be ambitious. Kamala, Hillary Clinton, and several other women in political settings have had their personal lives heavily scrutinized more than their male counterparts, all in a bid to disqualify or prove them unworthy of said authority. For Cleopatra, not only was her intelligence downplayed, her strategic relationships with powerful warlords were portrayed as scandalous and immoral. But true historians know that her relationships with those guys were more political than romantic. After only ascending the throne at 18 years old, Cleopatra was exiled by her own brother and stripped of her royal rights only 3 years into their rule. What better way could she have taken back her kingdom if it wasn't to enter a political alliance with a much bigger force? And what better alliance could she have formed if it wasn't with Julius Caesar himself, military emperor of the Roman Empire? I mean, imagine the level of political wisdom a 21-year-old woman must have had to negotiate and successfully partner with a 55-year-old Roman warlord. And let's not talk about the guts it must have taken to have herself sewn into a rug and brought to his presence despite not knowing her fate beforehand. If anything, her actions speak more of a brave ruler who used her wit and intelligence to reclaim what was rightfully hers and protect her people. Despite not being originally Egyptian, Cleopatra was the only royal from the ancient Greek dynasty who bothered to fully learn and immerse herself in the Egyptian culture. As a young girl, she would join their sittings, learning about their history, culture, and philosophy, and mastering 9 different Egyptian languages in the process. At 18, she ascended the throne alongside her brother Ptolemy the XIII, but even her blood ties did not save her from betrayal. Exiled out of her kingdom at such a young age, Cleopatra was able to regain her kingdom by strategically aligning herself with Julius Caesar. When Caesar was murdered, Cleopatra saw the imminent danger her kingdom was in without his influence. To prevent the impending doom, the queen entered a romantic relationship with Mark Antony, Caesar's right-hand man. This influence was what Cleopatra used to secure economic stability and protection for her people and her kingdom, further cementing the fact that her romantic relationships with the Roman generals were more political rather than personal or immoral as purported by the Romans. To fully understand the extent to which the Romans distorted Cleopatra's image and legacy, we must compare how women in power were viewed in ancient Egypt and ancient Rome. You see, ancient Egypt had a long-standing tradition of female rulership. They were accepting of female rulers and celebrated their ambitions and legacy just like they would a male ruler. Before Cleopatra, 7 female pharaohs had ruled the Egyptians, and neither of her predecessors faced the scandalous and immoral propaganda that her royal personality was subjected to. The Egyptians were accepting of women in positions of authority, and even raised some of them to godlike status. Unfortunately, the Roman Empire did not share the same values. For them, women in positions of power were an anomaly, and the presence of a powerful female ruler in the last yet-to-be-conquered city was a reality they refused to accept. To them, an ordinary woman wielding so much power and influencing 2 Roman generals was an affront on their faces. The Romans refused to accept her political capacity and instead spearheaded a propaganda that aimed to strip her of her intelligence and watered her political strategies down to a manipulative woman with scandalous relationships. Unfortunately, this narrative would stick and survive thousands of years after her death. Up until recently, the mighty Cleopatra was only portrayed as a cunning manipulator with bold eyeliners and sultry moves. Even in modern times, not much has been done to change the narrative. Rather, with movies like Netflix's Cleopatra, Hollywood has made the stereotype stick even further, reducing the last female pharaoh to a caricature of the power she truly wielded. If you're looking for any more proof of Cleopatra's personality as a powerful pharaoh, here you have it. Like most male rulers would do after suffering defeat, Cleopatra chose a braver and more deliberate way to die. Her refusal to be captured or subjected to public humiliation by her enemies is an act of bravery that one would only expect from a mighty ruler, not one who would perhaps attempt to use her coy tactics to manipulate another general or curry favor for a light punishment. Her death, in essence, is a testament to her personality as a powerful ruler who sometimes would make hard decisions even in difficult situations.